Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Tales of the Unusual, a Japanese film from 2000. Now this is an anthology of 4 short films that have a total runtime of 2 hours and 5 minutes. So each film is about a half an hour each. Genres range from horror to comedy to suspense to romance. I looked at my personal records, and I noticed that the last time I saw this movie was way back in 2007. That's a real shame, because I remember being a big fan of this one, and I've always considered it to be one of the, better anthologies that I've seen. So I purchased a copy recently for my collection, and I rewatched it just recently. So we begin with the wraparound segment, so to speak, involving some people who are laying low in a train station during a typhoon storm. This is a nice little setup that is revisited in between the other stories, and it also provides a nice little ending to the anthology. So while sitting out the storm, these people get to talking about the story or legend of the snow-capped mountains, so to speak. But the young man who's telling the story forgets the ending. So a mysterious man steps up to the plate. He's wearing like a black suit, and he decides to retell the story properly and finish it, since he knows it, which sets up our first short film, One Snowy Night. So an aircraft crash lands, and there's 5 survivors, one of which has a badly broken leg. To make matters worse, they're located in the middle of nowhere during a nasty blizzard. So braving the icy conditions, they experience a horrifying night in a desolate cabin. Now, one thing you'll notice in this story is that it's a little bit different from the snow-capped mountain story that the young man was telling just a few minutes prior. And I suspect that the intent here was to demonstrate how a story can be unintentionally altered through word of mouth over time. It was an interesting little storytelling device that I enjoyed. This is a very psychological film. It explores the breakdown of morality during life-threatening situations. It's kind of the core of the story, and it drives the content. There's also a very creepy and atmospheric vibe to this as well. There are a few death scenes, but the fear is primarily generated through the situation, the themes, and the environment. You may notice some of the actors in this as well. Ren Osuji, who's been in hundreds of films, and Akiko Yada from Pyrokinesis. They're both in this, so it was nice to see them. Now, given that this is a horror film, it may not surprise you that One Snowy Night was directed by Masayuki Ochiai, the man who gave us The Hypnotist and Infection. This is another one of his better titles to check out if you enjoyed those. So, One Snowy Night is a very good horror short that contributes a strong start to this anthology. Now, the second story is called Samurai Cellular. So the story begins actually in the middle of a desert, which is a big change in location when compared to the prior film, right? And there's some excavators who find a cell phone that was buried hundreds of years ago. So immediately you start questioning what's going on here. And then it goes into flashback mode. We're transported into 17th century Japan, where a samurai finds a mobile phone. But that's not all. The protagonist, named Oishi, is the leader of the famous 47 Ronin story. But this guy in this version is much more cowardly than what we're accustomed to. He has no desire to avenge the death of his master, but he finds his cell phone, he receives a phone call from someone in the future, and, things go from there. So it's a pretty bizarre premise, but this is a comedy, so it's played for laughs, and I must say that it is amusing how things turn out. But I do think the story will be more appreciated for viewers who are somewhat familiar to the 47 Ronin story. Megumi Okina from Ju-On the Grudge appears in this. This is not a laugh-out-loud comedy, but it is very unique and amusing to watch. The third short film in this anthology is called Chess. Now, this begins with a chess match between a Japanese chess champion and a supercomputer. The man loses, and then the story picks up a few years later. He's now an ex-world champion chess player who drinks a lot of booze. The loss kind of hit him hard. But he's summoned by a rich old man to a chess game that is far different from anything he, or anyone else for that matter, has ever seen. This is because the loss of every chess piece during the game results in a real person's death. Yes. So needless to say, our protagonist is shocked by what he's seeing here, and it results in kind of a mystery suspense flick that is a lot of fun to watch. Tons of creativity here in how it blends chess with real-life events. You know what I mean? It's not like you have a room full of people who are getting offed by terrorists or something. No. This is like a loss of a chess piece results in someone dying in the city around him. So it blends in the chess game with reality. That's all I'm saying with it about this. I really enjoyed this one. And then the fourth short film is called Marriage Simulator. It showcases a virtual reality machine. So you have, two protagonists who are an engaged couple planning their wedding ceremony, and the wedding planner, of all people, offers a marriage simulator as a side option, which is a pretty risky thing if you're a marriage wedding ceremony guy. You want them to get married so you can make money off of them. But what if the simulator, portrays something not too good? They might not even get married. So they take a bunch of surveys, they plug it into a computer, and then they go into a virtual reality machine and see how their marriage is going to play out, how this computer predicts it will play out. So, and since these people just met like a year ago and they're kind of, I guess you could say they're rushing a bit into marriage, there are some incompatibilities that they discover. So, it's kind of typical stuff that you would expect from a film of this kind that deals with marriage. But, and the script does feel maybe a little less inspired and creative when compared to the outlandish stuff that we covered previously. But this does have its heart in the right place. It's effectively dramatic and has a point to make. And it also takes a surprisingly realistic view of marriage, which I appreciated. So I did moderately enjoy this one as a romance. So overall, Tales of the Unusual is a very interesting anthology that has a variety of stories that are fun to watch. Some reviewers have compared this to The Twilight Zone, and I can understand the comparison for some of the shorts. So if you like that kind of story, check this one out. It is getting more difficult to find nowadays, but there are some copies of the Region 3 DVD, which has English subtitles, on Amazon UK. And it's for very reasonable prices. It was really cool to revisit this one after all those years. And now that I have it in my collection, I'm definitely going to rewatch it more often in the future. And as always, I'll see you next time.